welcome to week 3 of our online excerpt videos. This week we are going to be focusing on the Dvorak excerpt, and we are going to be looking at shifting and how to kind of tackle shifting, because there sure is a lot of it in this one. So let's get started. Let me show you how this is going to sound first. So the first shifting that we see in this excerpt is right in measure 2, right? So let me go through that really slowly. We have our G, B, and then D with the second finger. So if I wasn't shifting, it would just be our pinky, right, our fourth finger. But then we have all these notes up here, so we have to shift. So the way I'm going to think about that, when I'm ready to shift, I'm going to think about where this finger is going to have to go. So if my second finger is on D, my first finger would be C sharp, right? So whatever my previous finger was, that's where I'm going to be kind of leading. So C sharp, D. You can kind of practice it that way. Then put it down. Speed it up. Till you don't hear the C sharp at all. Right. So that's going to be our first one. And notice right here we have an extension. So don't get in the trap of, after playing a bunch of C sharps, going. We don't want to do that. That's not in the music, right? So D. And while you're holding this D, let's do it without vibrato. So stretch that guy back, and then he's already ready. Uh-oh, we have another shift. So our second shift of the piece. If we're here, first finger on C, we just need to go back one. So this is easier than you think. Just slide back. And so it'd be good to practice just long, don't even put it in the context of the excerpt, but. So the way I practice a shift like that is I will hold the note like this, slide down, and then change bow direction once I hit the note. So, So, see. So if you practice that and kind of speed up the transition, it's going to sound smoother and smoother. But that's how you can break it down. Let's keep going. So I'll start from the beginning and then I'll stop at the next shift. Uh-oh, there it is. So here we are. I went. We have another shift to second finger on D. And after that, we have a C sharp. So if you do the trick I said before, where you're leading with your first finger, it's like already there for the next note. So that's like super easy. You're like setting yourself up for success. So I'll slow it down. Fourth finger is, that is totally fine in the beginning. So I know I need to go right there. Then we have another one. It's just a half step. So just like in measure 4, yes, measure 4. where we went half step back. It's the same kind of thing, but we're going to go a half step forward, so don't overthink it. So, and again with the extension. So that seems to be a theme with this excerpt, where we will do a shift and then have another half step shift and then extended, like an extension. So let's go over it. There's one more. So we're not going to D, right? We go E, C sharp. So going by the same principle that you were doing before, where you kind of have a guide note, think about where your first finger is when you play that E. It's already on the D, right? So instead of going from E to C sharp, which is kind of a big shift, just think of it as a half step from D to C sharp. So you can even do that when you're practicing. The last thing I want to talk about today with shifting is how you can really make it your own unique and cool personal touch in the music. So this is for an audition, and you're going to be auditioning with a whole bunch of other people. They're probably, just as good as you. And so you have to stand out. And I think a great way to stand out is with a signature, beautiful shift. So let's look at the second half of this. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 measures after the repeat. There's a big shift from B to F sharp. So let me show you. So what I did, let's see. So up bow. So my personal signature shift that I would do to stand out is I would do the same thing we were talking about before, where I guide with the previous note. So I have first finger and F sharp. If my third finger is here, my first finger is going to be on E, right? So I'm going to slide glissando pretty much to the E and then snap that F sharp down. So that's my personal way of doing it. Another way is you can lead with the arrival note. So that would look like this. So what I'm doing is I put my finger down and then slide up, but it happens quickly. So those are two ways to think about a dramatic, beautiful shift. So think about your first note or the second note. So first note, the first finger that you're using, the previous note. Or think about the note that you're trying to head to, the finger that you're going to use. Right? Or so try both, see what you like. I like to mix it up a little bit. There are two last sections I want to go over really quickly about the positions on the fingerboard. So the first one would be in the second line. This is measure 18, 17, 16, measure 15. So after we did that gorgeous shift up and then back down, this measure. So it's 4, 2, 1, 4, 2, like that. And so we're gonna go over to the D string. Extension, right? And while you're playing that C, have your pinky ready to play the A. And that's how I would practice it, slow with no vibrato. And maybe backwards. And the next spot I want to mention really quickly is the last 3 measures. So it looks like the whole kind of mood of the excerpt changes in these last 3 measures. So all of a sudden we have short notes and a nice octave jump right in the beginning. So to tackle that octave from 1 to 4, think of it like we said before. So if my 4th finger is on E, where's your 1st finger? C sharp. So think of it, it's not an octave, it's just like a whole step but a string over. Just think of it that way. It'll save your life. So it's just that much. It's like this much of a movement. So don't worry about it. That's how I would do it. So start with your first note, and then your guide note would be the C sharp on the A string. And if you're like, wait, where's my C sharp? Look at your hand. And if you're just in first position, your C sharp is going to be where your 3rd finger is. So there's my 3rd finger. I'm going to put my 1st finger there. And then bam, you have your octave after you speed it up. Oops. So that's the first little tricky thing. Extension. Then we go into half position. So half position is just when you scoot it back a half position or a half step when you're in first position. It's what it sounds like. So we have our octave, and then where your 1st finger normally would go on the A string, we're going to put our 2nd finger so we can get the B flat. So but then very quickly we go right back into first position. So, and the whole reason why we're moving so much here is because, in my opinion, shorter movements or smaller movements more often are a lot easier than every once in a while huge movements. So, for example, let's say we wanted to go 1, 1. That's a whole octave jump. We don't want to do that. So we could just put our 2nd finger right back down. But then, look at that, our next note is G with the 2nd finger. So then we're going, it's too hard. It's a big jump. We're shifting with the same finger, which is sometimes not easy. So back to first position, and then our G is a lot closer. And again, the G is going to be where our 4th finger normally goes, so you can look at your hand if you need to. Right. So in this video, we talked about the trouble spots for shifting in this excerpt, how they relate to the extensions and the half steps versus not half steps, and then the 2 different ways you can handle a huge long shift like that. So let's put it all together. I'll play the whole thing. I'm not going to do the repeat. So I'll just play start to end. So here we go. your assignment this week is to play the entire Dvorak excerpt for me, and I'm going to be listening for intonation with your shifting. So if you have to use no vibrato, that is totally fine. And no dynamics, that's fine. If it's just, that is 100% fine. But I'm going to be listening for intonation and the smoothness of your shifting. So I'll see if you use any of the tricks, and if you don't, but you make it work, that's okay. But I will be looking for those things, and I'll give you a response video, like a little mini lesson, and we can talk about it.